Good afternoon and welcome to the session on how to future skill your workforce. I'm Jennifer Conrad with Strategic Education, Inc. We are pleased to sponsor Lisa's session. But before I introduce Lisa, I'd like to share with you who is SEI. A little over a year ago, Strategic Education, Inc. came together and brought Capella University and Strayer University, along with their additional tech-based platforms, all focused on helping employees expand their capabilities and in the process improving your organization's performance. Today, employers need an education partner who can prepare employees for the future of work. And employees need learning options that fit their lives. We make it easy to deliver high-impact educational solutions for employees that are designed for working adults, that can be cost-effective and unique to your organizational goals. We help you attract and retain great talent. At SEI, we make our partnerships personal. In education, there's not a one-size-fits-all. That's why we carefully select programs and services based on your organization's goals, drawing from some of the best and brightest names in the education space. From customized degree programs that can help bolster retention, to training that's more engaging, to tools that can help you pursue greater ROI. We offer solutions tailored to your specific challenges in your organization. At SEI, we'd like to build a thriving modern workforce together. So for more information, please visit the SEI virtual exhibit booth or go to our website at strategiceducation.com/employers. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Lisa Wiseman. Lisa has more than a decade of experiences helping organizations optimize and grow so they can create jobs and support programs that make communities stronger. She is a thought leader in technology and education. Lisa's accolades are many. She's been featured on NBC. She's been on The Apprentice with Donald Trump and Black Enterprise, and she's a multi-award-winning television personality. She was also named Corpus Christi's Under 40 Entrepreneur of the Year. Her bio is truly inspiring. I invite you to visit her website and view her YouTube videos. Something I found interesting about Lisa was her strength finders traits are competition, futuristic, achiever, adaptability, and command. She is truly a fierce leader and dedicated to her mission. Please enjoy your session on how to future skill your workforce.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lisa Wisner. And first of all, I just want to congratulate you for being here today. Give yourself a high five. It looks like this. Boom. And I'm excited because I'm going to be talking to you today about how to future skill your workforce. Like I said, I'm Lisa Wisner. I am a talent development expert. I'm a workforce optimization keynote speaker. And I think it's really refreshing that Chief Learning Officer actually took charge of this COVID-19 coronavirus situation. And I want to congratulate them for not only just being trailblazers in terms of using virtual technology, but just optimizing in terms of helping all of us who are supposed to be coming and providing talent to you and providing insight, helping us become champions for you. So if you're up to it, I want you to send them an email and thank them so much because you're being able to participate in this training because they're forward thinking and they didn't cancel this session. So thank you so much, Chief Learning Officer. So like I said, I'm going to be presenting to you how to future skill your workforce. I think for me, it's more important to just kind of think about what the future has to hold instead of thinking about the past all the time. We need to be moving into the future. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with our presentation. Just to tell you a little bit more about myself, my name is Lisa Wisner again, and I'm your talent development expert. I have a degree in computer science. I also have a degree in educational technology. I'm what you call a social entrepreneur. I started a nonprofit organization called powerup.org. I moved here to the United States on a golf scholarship. I am a wife and a mom of boys, so I like to say that I am part of the mob and I have a fur baby. But the main reason why I feel that I am qualified to speak in this position is because I believe that shaping the future of work really starts with each and every single one of us. And I'm passionate about bringing humanity to workplaces. But more than that, I'm really focused on thinking about the digital divide. How does that help us become more successful as a community? So just a little bit more about myself. I speak all over the world, and I've won multiple awards for speaking. For those of you who are familiar with Toastmasters, I'm a distinguished Toastmaster, and I have also helped people with their TEDx speeches, so I am a TEDx coach. A few more of my accolades: I have been written up and I have been shown on television shows in terms of the content that I've been able to provide. So the reason I'm sharing this to you is because I just want you to know that the information I'm sharing with you is a culmination of all the resources I've been able to collect over the years. Some of the books that I like to read, for those of you who like books, I think when you know what books people like to read, you really get to know them a little bit more intimately. I absolutely love the books that are written by Cal Newport. He is a professor of computer science, actually, but he writes about this, this mix of artificial intelligence and ancient intelligence. And he speaks about ancient intelligence and connects it to artificial intelligence. And I absolutely love that. So if you like reading books, then Deep Work is a good book for you. I love that book. And then another book that I absolutely love is this book by James Clear. It's called Atomic Habits. And this book is really about the domino effect. When you think about dominoes getting dropped down, it's all the tiny changes that you do that create remarkable results. And so it's important for when you're reading this book to just think about all the tiny things you could be doing in your industry to move you ahead. Another thing I wanted to share, one of my proudest moments, is I got certified as an optimized coach. And for those of you who maybe know what being an optimized coach is, you're going to understand that as I go through my presentation, I'm going to be talking about how to actualize the human capacity. It's not so much about how we are trying to change our organizations. It's about how can we be great assets within our organizations as human beings? How do we humanize the workplace? And so I'm going to be sharing a little bit of insight about how the optimized team has really done a great job in helping us get more wisdom in less time. So I'm speaking to you from Corpus Christi here in Texas, and we are on the Gulf Coast. As you can see, we are there sailing in the oceans. And for me, it's most exciting to talk about Corpus Christi because I actually hail from Nairobi, Kenya. I moved to the United States on a golf scholarship. And when I came to Corpus Christi, I had no idea that I was moving into the 8th largest city in Texas. The industries we have are petrochemical, military, and tourism. And the average temperature here is truly amazing, actually. So those of you who have snow and everything, just think about Corpus Christi as your vacation spot. And so I always like to say that Corpus Christi has enough beaches for you. We have 142 miles of beaches here in Corpus Christi. As a human capital services manager for the city of Corpus Christi, my role is about connecting workforce development to homeless services and housing initiatives. So I think about Maslow's hierarchy. So I created this chart to show my teams and to show our leadership on the work that I am doing for our teams. So the people that I supervise are sort of, I like to think about it as us all developing the hierarchy of human need, from the lowest level of people who just don't have a home and they don't feel like they are reaching their highest potential, to being recognized as being shining stars. And so I think I am really reaching that spectrum as being the human capital manager for our city. And as we move forward into the rest of this presentation, I just want to let you know that this presentation is purely for educational purposes only. The opinions that I'm going to express here are not necessarily the opinions of the city of Corpus Christi, but again, they are the culmination of the experiences and the opportunities that I've had to learn and grow in my career. So let's get started. Let's talk about future skilling. We're going to touch on the revolution, what that actually means. Why are we talking about future skilling? Then we're going to talk about the difference between upskilling, reskilling, and then I'm going to share with you my blueprint that I am implementing at the city of Corpus Christi for how to future skill our workforce. So let's jump right into the revolution. So I want you to think about revolutions, right? So in the beginning, I like to think that paper was what was making most of our workflow happen. So paper was seen as the documents, and people processing documents was why people were being hired in organizations. But the most disruptive technology that happened was actually the iPhone. If you can see how the phones changed, as soon as the iPhone came into existence, it actually revolutionized our communication. And that is why the future of work now exists. So first came steam, right? So the steam power was the first industrial revolution. Then the second industrial revolution was electricity, and then we moved into computing. And computing has to do with internet automated production. It has to do with computerization of systems. But now we're into the fourth industrial revolution. And I know as we're going through this presentation, you've probably already heard about the fourth industrial revolution, but I want you to think about it in terms of a wave that's coming. It's a wave that's crashing into not only our personal lives, but into our professional lives as well. And for me, it is actually impacting and changing the way we think about what we value as work, as human beings. So just to kind of plant the seed for you, you know, self-driving cars used to be sort of like the thing that you used to see on the Jetsons or whatever it was that was like future thinking. And now they are here today. And when we think about going grocery shopping, I mean, how many of y'all have heard about Amazon Go stores where it's cashierless shopping? You literally walk in, put the merchandise in your pockets, and you walk out and you're good to go. What about airports? No more are you showing up to an airport and then having to show somebody your ticket. You check yourself in, you drop your bags, and you're good to go. And then articles. For those of you who maybe subscribe to Apple News, you need to know that some of those articles you're reading have been written by artificial intelligence. They're actually not written by humans. And so why am I telling you all these things? I'm telling you all these things because most of you either have Siri or you have Alexa in your homes. And it's important for you to understand that the connection of humans and machine learning and technology is here and now. And it's important for our learning, and as chief learning officers, the reason why you are in this conference right now is because either you are a chief learning officer or you are aspiring to be one. It's important for you to understand that if you are trying to capitalize on the potential of the people that you're supporting, you need to understand that the world we live in now, it's so integrated with technology. And so now let's move on to what upskilling and reskilling is. So the digital transformation has changed the way we think about work. You know, this has really led to seeing things as, you know, are we going to relegate it to technology, or are we going to do it as humans? So working at the city of Corpus Christi, one of the most important things I can say is we meet virtually. We run the city, right? So as you can imagine, we have locations all over the city of Corpus Christi. But some of you on this call may even be working for international organizations. And so you're spread out across the globe. So learning that virtually is not anything that's a new thing. Now, I want to bring you back to where we're at right now, which is with the coronavirus, right? With this pandemic. And I think back to the Spanish flu when it happened, and I think, what did they do, right? I think they had to actually halt working. So the fact that we have the technology today to be able to continue not only to have conferences like we are having today, but also to work, to continue to work. And in fact, just so you guys know, and you're probably just like me, if you're a chief learning officer, my work has ramped up now that this situation has happened. But that's the digital transformation of work. For me, at the city of Corpus Christi, we're seeing that VR is really the reality. We're seeing that not only does it help with safety, but as you can see, these people are looking at our traffic. Our traffic engineers are being able to see how traffic flow can be seen without actually having to physically go to a street to help. And then data engineering. Understanding data. There's so much data coming at us in our organizations that it's important to understand that not only do you need to understand the data, you need to have people who are able to show you how the data is going to help your organizations. This slide about the fourth industrial revolution is about revenue per employee. You know, we talk about the jobs are leaving America, right? So there's that whole mission of the work skills that you need to have so that you can be employable in our future. And the point here is that, you know, when I think about the organizations of the future, I think about the fact that it's a merge of humans and technology, but more important than that, what we are being taught now, and even though this slide is pretty dated, when you think about how much money each employee in our organizations, our most successful organizations today make, it's pretty impactful to help you understand why you need to pay attention to why technology is the future. So let's talk through what machine versus human learning is. So when you think about humans versus machine learning, I want you to think about how the word, strength means to you. So for me, when I think about the word strength, I think about things like being solid and not being weak. And when I think about machines, a lot of times when we think about machines being stronger than humans. But I want to show you this slide because I want you to see that there is a need for humans. A lot of times people think they're losing their jobs because technology has come in, but I want there to be an understanding that machines are here to help. And it's not a matter of strengths, it's a matter of who can do the job better. Now let's look at the machine side. Machines can process huge data sets. Machines can do speed and accuracy, but so can humans. There are humans who get really good at going really fast, but machines are just better at that. And also we have machines that are also acting empathically, right? And we have machines that are adapting to our social cues as humans, but humans are better at that. And so for me, the work that you need to do as a chief learning officer is understand in your organization what tasks and what projects need to be worked on by machines versus humans. So as a public sector employee, I have to talk you through our future careers. So careers that I have considered at our city are things like having an algorithm auditor. Having an algorithm auditor means this person would be a critical thinker and they would be thinking through what are the different steps in the process that people have to do their jobs. So the human skill is so important. But also, what does that tech skill look like? So I've been thinking through what is the skills that they need to learn. So thinking about upskilling our employees to learning about what data science is, learning about analytics right now, and then learning about programming at not necessarily a deep level, but at least understanding how to code. And then working for the city, I always think about our police force. And I think, what about in the future if we had a criminal redirection officer? And this person would be known for not only just helping with our criminals, to I guess, assimilate back into our community, but they would be really good. I think humans would do a better job than tech would in this area. And the reason I'm sharing this with you, and just as a point of information, I collected all this information from Deloitte. They've done all this research on different jobs that are coming up in the future. So if you want to go ahead and research that for your own organization, you're welcome to do that. But the reason I'm sharing this with you is because, as you can see, what I'm doing is I'm matching what are the human skills that are needed and what are the tech skills that are needed. The next thing is our data engineer. So our data engineer is something that already exists. Anytime that you see data science, it's important to understand that this is a person who understands how is the data going to affect the organization. And as you can see here, the human capacity is important here. Managing others, being able to understand where are we getting the data from, and is it quality data? I think sometimes we relegate ourselves to, oh, it's in the computer, it's being taken care of by the tech. Yes, but bad information means that you get bad information out. So it's important to make sure that the humans are making sure that the information that's going in is accurate. And then one of the last examples that I have for my city is a talent cloud coordinator. And this would actually be an HR role. So some of our chief learning officer roles are seen in the human resources department. And this HR person would not necessarily be going out in the field to recruit people, but they would be seen as a talent cloud coordinator, where they would be pulling in candidates and creating some sort of a way to staff more clearly by creating assessments and being able to use technology to use workforce analytics and use a learning management system to see how they can assess the skills that are needed to perform the job. So why am I telling you all this? I'm telling you all of this to plant a seed that in your organization, you need to have a future skilling blueprint. Now, just like as though we were building a house, it's important to understand that if you're going to build something, you need to first lay the foundation. And I always say, if you want to see how strong or how tall the building is going to be, look at how deep they're digging the foundation. So if as much time as you can spend thinking about your blueprint is how strong your organization is going to be in terms of the interactions you're going to have with not only the customers you're going to serve, but also optimizing your employees so that they can be better for your organization for years to come. So this is the blueprint I've come up with. And I know I just showed it to you right now in its full glory, but it's really complicated, but I'm going to break it down for you. So let's break it down a little bit. So the first part is our work. The second part is our teams that we work with, so connecting the teams, and then the next is the organization itself. So when I think about our work, I think about you, right? So think about yourself and the role you have. So whatever your job title is, that's the first part of the blueprint. The second part of the blueprint is the teams that you get to work with. So these are just two examples, but at the city of Corpus Christi, we have 32 departments. And so I know we have more than 32 teams because we have cross-functional teams, but let's just imagine we have 32 different types of organizations that have to work together to make a successful organization. And you'll probably organize the same way in your own organization. Now, the first part of the blueprint is to future skill your work. So when I say your work, what I mean is your own individual employees. How can you help your employees become successful in terms of future skilling? So we're going to talk about deep work versus shallow work. We're going to talk about having a growth mindset. We're going to talk about water brains, and then we're going to talk about energy management. So first is deep work versus shallow work. So in today's world, there's distractions all over the place. And so for the human capacity to be successful, it's important to know that it's easier for you to get your work done if you have deep work instilled versus shallow work. And shallow work means that you're really just skimming the surface on the work that needs to be done. And if you find yourself in shallow work, it means that the work that needs to be done there could probably be done by a machine. So think about that. The deep work is actually done by humans. The next skill that you need to have a successful future thinking organization is to have a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. So the fear of technology is here. We have people who are afraid that they can't even do their job because they're afraid they're going to be replaced by technology. It's important to understand that you have to have a growth mindset in your organization in terms of challenges. You should see yourselves as obstacles make you stronger. And I call them your ohms. You should have everybody chanting ohms. Obstacles make me stronger. And this is from Brian Johnson from the Optimized Group. And the point here is that when you are trying to future skill your employees, you need to have them thinking that things are never going to be the same. And in fact, if you didn't know this, 50% of the skills you have today are going to be obsolete within the next 5 years. So every 5 years, you need to be reskilling and you need to be upskilling your organization. The other reason why you need to have a growth mindset is because sometimes we lay out the plans like this, like, oh, this is going to be great. We're going to have a great 2020, and 2020 is going to make all our dreams come true. Because guess what? 2020 means Vision 2020. I can see my vision. I'm going to make it amazing. And then guess what happens? And it's just so hilarious because now we are living the reality of what 2020 actually meant for us. And for some of us, we're seeing the situation as, I cannot believe this is happening. I thought 2020 was going to make all my dreams come true. And now we're just trying to survive, right? And I don't mean to make a joke about it, but the point here is you're going to make plans and you're not really going to hit those plans. And so you need to have plan A, B, C, D, A, B, B. After you go through the whole alphabet, you need to figure out what would you do. And you need to start getting your teams ready for that. And this situation we're in, I know that there are probably some teams and some organizations who are ready for this already. We're ready for the COVID-19 stay at home or shelter in place ordinances, whatever it is that you're doing to make sure that we are not spreading this virus. People are already ready for this. So the next thing I want to talk to you about is watering your brains. So think about maybe some plants you have in your house or in your garden. Now I want you to think about how they grow. Or your lawn, right? So think about your lawn as well. Would it be better to water your lawn once a year, right? Just say, okay, I gave it a good watering for 8 years, for 8 hours, right? So I give it a good watering for eight hours. Oh my gosh, 8 years would be like we need Noah's Ark, right? So that's a joke, but you can laugh or you don't have to laugh, but that was kind of scary. 8 years of rain, that would be scary. So the point here is that when you are trying to train your employees, it's important for them you need to treat their brains like a plant that is being helped to grow. So you don't take a plant and start watering it, all the water that you're going to give it for 30 days. You have to water it every day. And every day you're feeding it the water. It's the same thing when you're trying to reskill and upskill. You don't just throw the employees into a training module and you say, do this training for 3 weeks and then come back and you're going to be great. You're going to be the best data scientist. No. This has to be over time. So this is something that you need to think about in terms of what I call impact journeys. You need to think about the growth for your employees as being, how are you going to assess where they're at? So you meet them where they're at, and then you give them some information, then you assess, and then you give them information, you assess, and over time, it's just like you're trying to grow that great oak, right? That great oak is going to grow over time. And the next thing about growing your teams, right? So you and the work that your organization is doing is about helping your teams have energy management. Some of the things that we do in life is think about how we can be better as human beings. And when we talked about deep work and shallow work, it's important to know that that is going to be the strength that you have as an individual for your teams. Just like I told you that 50% of your skills are going to be obsolete, you know, when that robot takes over on that data that you've been crunching, they don't sleep, they're not watching Netflix, and they don't have to go home to a family. They can work 24 hours and they don't get tired. So it's important for you as a human to manage your energy. So there's lots of resources out there, but the one resource that I found is Tom Rath, who is actually, by the way, he is the Strengths Finder dude. That's what I call him, my Strengths Finder guy, because I'm part of the Gallup team. And he does the Strengths Find. He wrote the Strengths Finder 2.0 book, but he also wrote this book called Eat, Move, Sleep. So now the next part of our future skilling blueprint is about managing your teams. So first we talked about managing the individuals, right? So we have the CEO, we have the chief learning officer, you right there, and we have our admins, we have our technicians, whoever they are. Now they're future skilled. Now let's talk about future skilling teams and what that looks like. Future skilling teams, the number one thing is to focus on roles. It's important to understand that the roles that people have is more important than the work that needs to be done. And then the next thing is developing cross-functional teams, and then we'll talk about psychological safety. So as you watch this little video, I want you to think about how you're feeling right now. The first thing that comes to mind for me is, wow, there's a robot that can do a backflip. I need to get my backflip game on. But second, I have a little bit of empathy for this robot. Now, really, should I have empathy for this robot? Because the robot is not alive, right? It's not a human. But this is the thing with the role of humans versus machines, right? So the robot is not going to cry that it fell on the block and I broke my arm and now, you know, I need workers' compensation, whatever it is, right? The point is that the machine is going to be able to do things that the human can't. But the human is really good at certain things. So you need to start thinking in that mind frame, right? So as much as we are thinking about using humans, right? We have humans in our workplace and we want to upskill them. It's important to understand that there is a role for machines. And so when you focus on the roles as a chief learning officer, you need to maybe just take a step back, think of one person's job. So pull somebody like, for example, in our organization, we can pull like a heavy equipment operator, right? So a heavy equipment operator usually has like a CDL license and they're out there maybe managing some equipment for the city. And eventually, I suspect that their job might be outsourced to an automated machine that does that. But what is the value of that human? The value of that human is, because I work for the city, is having the empathy to the way that robot or that machine is going to do the work. And so it's important to understand how to match the roles and what you're actually upskilling. You're not upskilling this senior equipment operator to be better at being a senior equipment operator. You're upskilling them to maybe be better at adapting to different skills in different situations, having critical thinking and problem solving, because the machine is going to do their actual work. So as you're developing the future skill sets for humans, people need to think critically. They need to think creatively. You need to be able to communicate effectively, and they also need to interact effectively. So these are the skill sets that the humans need to have in your organizations. So as you're thinking about the blueprint of your future trainings, these are the things you need to be thinking through. The second part of future skilling your teams is to identify cross-functional teams. You're only as strong as your weakest links. And in fact, when you cross-functional your teams, you have great representation and all the various functions come together to help your organization become stronger. So find out how you can accomplish projects that need to be accomplished by creating cross-functional teams. How can we have people solving HR problems we have, right? So opportunities for success with an IT person, and maybe an engineering person comes on board to help us solve our problems, and vice versa. How can we all work together as a team to be successful? And then the last part is building psychological safety within your organization. So as human beings, we see danger and we see safety. And the way we feel is really what makes us successful. And if you want to know more about psychological safety, I want you to look up Google's Project Aristotle. So they spent about, I would say, $1 or $2 million on this research. And what they found out is the number one thing that makes you successful as an organization is building psychological safety within your teams, making sure that your teams have what's called emotional intelligence towards each other. People are allowed to make mistakes on teams. People feel that the contribution that they're making is impactful to the bigger picture of the puzzle. And then people learning from their mistakes and not necessarily being seen as, you know, like, oh, you did that intentionally. No, their intention was to do a great job. They maybe just fell short, and there's an opportunity to learn there. Now, last but not least, we're going to talk about future skilling your organization. Before we move into future skilling your organization, I need you to take a deep breath, okay? And I'm going to do it with you. Because I have a feeling that some of y'all in your organizations, the toughest thing, just like probably me, the toughest thing is to move within your organization and be able to show an ROI for the ideas you have, right? The return on investment. Why is it important to future skill? Why is it important to pull employees for a certain period of their workday to go and get skilled in something else, right? Or go and get upskilled. Why does somebody who used to work 40 hours doing something, now they're going to work 30 hours and 10 hours doing a training? Why are you doing this? And so you're going to need ammunition to be able to go talk to your executive leadership and get the support that you need to be able to upskill not only your work, but the teams. And now let's talk about the organization. How can an organization future skill? One, the first thing is to listen to employees and teams. I think that's something that communication is just something that may be lacking. Sometimes when executive leadership gets hired, it's seen as, you know, executive leadership knows everything, but surprise, they don't. And the success is by everyone communicating to executive leadership on where the successes could be. And then the second is to invest in the right technology, and then strategic planning. So let's start off with developing a communication strategy. In your organization, it's important to understand that communication must go both ways. It's not necessarily anymore, the future is not going to be successful anymore by a top-down approach, where the memo gets sent from the top floor and all the employees must comply. It doesn't work like that. Because if you know, just like you think I know, just like you know, that the information that's needed and the communication that's needed is actually at the front line. The front line is the one that knows the main impact of what needs to be done. So if you are a CEO, if you are a chief learning officer, I guess, right? So you're one of the executive leadership team, it's important to understand that you're going to get the most important information from your front line. So what strategies do you have in place in your organization to future scale your communication strategy? Do you have a way to collect feedback from your organization as a whole, and not necessarily seeing it as a top-down approach, seeing it as everybody communicating and sharing the information so that we can make good decisions, and empowering people for the skills they already have? The next is to make sure that you invest in the right technology. Sometimes we can be stuck with technologies we had from the 90s. And because that implementation happened and it took 3 years to implement, we forget that there may be newer technologies that have come through that we need to be investing in. And it's important to understand that as much data as you can collect about the work processes is as successful as you're going to be as an organization. So investing in the right technology is important. But even more important than that is making sure that the people who are making the decisions on investing in the right technology really and truly are invested in that communication strategy we talked about earlier. That communication strategy is what is going to feed into the right technology you're going to select. Because the person who's on the front line who's going to use that technology is the one who knows how they want to use it and why they want to use it. What is a must-have? What could we be okay with? You know, like, oh, okay, that would be nice to have. Or what is essential, right? They're going to know that. And if you don't have an effective communication strategy within your organization, then you're never going to be able to future scale your organization. And last but not least, it does not matter how many resources you have. If you don't know how to use them, it will never be enough. So at the City of Corpus Christi, what we did was we came up with a people-focused strategic plan for our future skilling. And what we did is just kind of take a step back and think about, what do we want our people, right? So our human capital is is our strongest asset. And I know that, there's a double-edged sword there. We say, oh, human capital is so important, but here we are saying that technology is important. Yes, we need to bridge the digital divide. We need people to understand that technology is important. They need to embrace it, and they have to have a growth mindset towards it. But we also need to be able to upskill our people to be assets in our organizations. So make sure you think about how you can create a strategic plan to help your organization become successful, but also putting people as the focus. How can they be engaged? How can they be capable? And then what are you going to do to be able to not only upskill your current workforce? Because remember what I said, every 5 years, 50% of the skills your teams have are becoming obsolete. What are you going to do? When you give people, most of the time when we do service awards, it's a 5-year pin that people get. So every 5 years, you're pretty much telling everyone, okay, what have you done since 5 years ago to make you more valuable to us, right? And that's what a salary is. A salary is really just a number of the value you are to that organization. So your job as a chief learning officer is to try to increase the value of the human capital you have. And every 5 years that they get that pin, you should be thinking, what have I done to add value to those people? Do I have the technologies that are being able to track the success of that person and their career? And do they have a blueprint for their career? Are they going through career coaching sessions? What is it that's going to help this person become more successful in our organization? Understanding that we know that technology, artificial intelligence, and machine learning are coming, and they're here to stay. So here I have a message for you, ladies and gentlemen. The future starts today. I know some of us may be thinking, oh, I don't have to worry about that until 2030, or, oh, I'll let the next person worry about that. Well, I'm here to tell you that it is here today, not tomorrow. It is here today. And it's important for you to kind of see your teams as the future of work. Don't relegate yourself to thinking about, oh, those people will retire, and now we need to think about these millennials we're hiring, right? So the new skill that's coming is the one that's going to move us into the future. You need to think about the future of work as today. So there's an organization called OECD, and they're based in Europe, and they came up with this amazing campaign, which we are benchmarking. So anytime that you take something that somebody else has done, I call it benchmarking. So you can do the same thing. So we are benchmarking it. And I want you to think through how you can see the roles within your organization right now as the future of work. How are you empowering the people in your organizations to see their work as the future of work? And I absolutely love this mission, and I encourage you to go look through their organization. It's called OECD, and at the end of this presentation, I have a bibliography, and I'm sure you'll be able to download the slides so you can find it in there. You can find their exact name of the organization. But I want you to see that each and every single person who works in your organization is the future of your organization. It's not about thinking, oh, your job is going to be outsourced, or, you may not be able to learn how to code, or you're not going to learn how to learn data science. It's important to know that the people who work for you now are your strongest assets. And so how can you future skill them, and how can you upskill them to be successful? One of our aspirations at the City of Corpus Christi is to grow our city champions. So we call ourselves city champions, city employees. And we think about city champions being the people who think about the growth of our communities. And so I have this vision that we would take our future skilling all the way into education reform. How can we start maybe from kindergarten to 3rd grade to 7th grade and then in high school to help our youth really and truly not only learn the skills of the future, but not be relegated to learning in environments that are from the 1900s, right? And I know the 1900s wasn't too long ago, but still we need to move from that. We need to start upskilling in all the different areas. And the Learning Institute is a monetized entity for the City of Corpus Christi. And that is an area we jumped into very, very intentionally. We have jumped into being a leader within workforce development for our entire organization. The beauty of me being in our public sector is the fact that I can impact not only our 3,000 employees, I can impact 300,000 lives. I can think about our organization in terms of how can we upskill the level of education in the City of Corpus Christi and not just relegate it to our own specific entity, 3,000 employees. We're looking at 300,000 citizens and beyond. So we are done with this presentation. I am so excited that you made it to the end. And here's our awesome robot. I don't know what I should call him. I should call him Freddy maybe. And so Freddy made it. Look. So Freddy learned, right? So he learned how to do the jump. and he did his backflip, which is awesome. I need to learn how to do a backflip. But as you can see, you know, as humans, we have this emotional feeling of excitement when we see Freddy do it. And I'm sure Freddy does not have that feeling, but I'm very excited for Freddy. And if he was here, I don't think I would need to social distance him. I would give him a high five, just like I can give you a high five virtually, because I am super excited that you got to learn a little bit more about future skilling. As we close this presentation, I just not only want to thank you so much for being part of this Chief Learning Officer Virtual Symposium, but I want to let you know if you have any questions, if you have any comments, or if you have information to share with me. I am always looking to grow and I'm looking to learn more. So just feed me. You know, if I said things and you're like, oh, I don't agree, or, oh, I want to learn more about that, please let me know. And this, I guess you can see this QR code that's on your screen. If you want to take a picture of it, if you want to grab it, grab that QR code. It will help you connect with me on LinkedIn. I encourage you to connect with me so that we can learn more with one another, so that we can future scale our entire workforce, so that we can build a better future for the human race. Thank you so much for your time. Have a wonderful rest of your conference. Bye.